My teenager seems to specifically know how to wind me up. And is that deliberate? And why do I, a fully grown adult, let a 15-year-old destroy my entire mood? So there's kind of two questions in that, and we're going to take them one at a time. And I think the answers are going to surprise some of you. So is it deliberate that they're doing it? The short answer is sort of, but probably not the way you think. So stay with me. And then the second part, why do you let a 15-year-old destroy your mood? And that's actually the more interesting question. And the answer to that is what's going to hand you back the power to change it. So is it deliberate? Well, I think the truth is that your teenager really isn't lying awake at night plotting how to ruin your Tuesday. They don't have the bandwidth. Their brain is mid-renovation, wires hanging out of the walls, scaffolding everywhere, and they can barely find their PE kit on a good day, let alone run a covert psychological operation against you. But, and it is a big but, they are completely unconsciously incredibly good at finding your buttons. And once you understand why it gets pushed, you then get to take that button off your panel of buttons. And that's what changes things. Understanding that your buttons were installed a really long time ago, way before your teenager was even a thought in your mind. Your teenagers didn't wire you up. They just happened to have a very uncanny knack of landing their adolescent fingers on the exact spot every single time with the accuracy of a heat-seeking missile, truly. They're not actually aiming. They're just being teenagers, loud, messy, boundary testing, mood swinging, adolescence. And wherever there's a raw nerve in you, that's where the noise lands the hardest for you, the mess, the behavior. So like, it's not a plot. They're just being teenagers. Imagine a supply teacher who walks into a year 9 classroom. And do you remember what happens when you get a supply teacher when you were at school? Chaos every single time. Yes, the class just tests them, usually to destruction. It's not because all those 30, 11-year-olds held a meeting in advance and planned it. It's because there's an adult who doesn't know how to hold the boundaries and stay regulated. And that to a bunch of young kids is simply an open invitation. They can smell it, and they test what happens when someone isn't able to hold steady ground. If you compare that to a really old hand teacher who can walk into any year 9 class anywhere on the planet, raise one eyebrow. I can't raise one eyebrow. My brother's really good at raising one eyebrow. I have to raise 2. Who can raise one eyebrow, look at everybody, and the room goes quiet. Same kids, completely different results. And what's changed is not the children. What changed is that adult's own nervous system. And that is your teenager and you. So, you know, the second half of the question, why do you let a 15-year-old destroy your entire mood? I think we first need to take that word let and kind of put it down, because I don't think you are choosing this. I think what's actually happening is that your nervous system is doing something it learnt to do a long, long time ago, and it's doing it completely automatically, kind of faster than thought. If you think of your emotions like the dashboard lights in a car, when a light comes on, it's not the car being dramatic, it's information. It's like petrol light, okay, we'll need to put some fuel in sooner rather than later. Oil light, okay, we need to deal with that now. The light isn't the problem, it's just data. And when your teenager does something that really gets to you, slamming the door, rolling their eyes, saying something that could strip paint off a wall, something lights up in you. And here's what most parents get wrong. We think that that light flashing is in us is, anger, that my child is being rude. But very often, if you actually look, the light says something else entirely. Underneath that, there might be some fear, there might be some shame, there might be some pain at not being heard, not being respected. There might be feeling like a failure. And they are old lights that have been wired into your dashboard when you were about their age or younger. And again, your teenager did not install that panel of buttons. But they do know exactly which lights are kind of the ones that are flashing, because unconsciously we all do. Like, we can spot vulnerability in the people we love most, probably because we love them most and we're paying the closest attention. And any relationship is a dance, and no dance is more intense, more emotionally loaded than the one you have with your own child. When you are clear and calm, the dance is still intense. Teenagers are intense. That's kind of the whole point of them, but you're leading it. But when you have a lot of unexamined buttons, they can trip you over. The whole dance can trip into chaos and you're not sure who's leading who, and everybody ends up hurt. So why do you let it happen? Well, because you're human, and because nobody ever taught you what and where those buttons are or how to diffuse them. And that's kind of not a parenting failure. It's just that nobody handed you the manual, the information on how to do that. I certainly wasn't handed one of those. So I'm just going to kind of give you an example, because I think it explains things better than me just talking theory. So I worked with a mum, let's call her Jay. She was an absolutely lovely woman, and she would get so absolutely furious, just like flip her lid in seconds with her 14-year-old son almost every single night at the dinner table. He was a bright boy, he was a football player, top of his class. Every single evening, that same flashpoint. His phone buzzes and he glances down to look at it. And before she has even decided to move, she is up out of her chair shouting at him. And the voice that comes out of her in that moment, it isn't even her own voice. It's her mother's. Straight out of the 1950s. 1990s. Now, here's what I want you to notice. This isn't about the phone. It never is, and the boy would just, like, when she loses it, he would just like clock off, put his phone down, leave as soon as he could, answer with monosyllables, whatever, fine, yeah. As soon as he could, go off, slam the door, and every night this would happen. So her and I did the work, and we worked on what is that thing that lights up in you. What's it actually saying? Not that anger on top, underneath. What's going on? What's really going on? And she, it took a while to get there. She was quiet for a long time, and then tears. And then the word she understood landed, and it was invisible. And the story behind that button of invisible was that her own dad had been a really serious workaholic who was hardly ever present at home. Hardly ever at home, because he was always at work, and when he was at home, he really wasn't in the room. And she had promised herself, taken a vow that, decades before she even had children, that when she did, she would never, ever, ever raise a child who felt unseen the way that she had through her whole childhood. So when her son glances down at his phone, instead of you know, and yeah, he is sort of rude. Do you know what I mean? By he's mid-conversation and his phone buzzes and he looks at it. But it's not about the rudeness. When he does that to her, glances at the phone and ignores her, that's the pain of that is what lights up on her dashboard, her button. That's her oldest fear in neon, full volume, screaming at her. And so when we'd done the work, what changed was actually not her son's behavior, not at first anyway. What changed was her body, her nervous system. And the next night at dinner, when his phone buzzed, she noticed that urge to stand up, but she stayed calmly. She was able to stay calmly in her chair and kind of breathing and saying words to herself silently, just like, this is not him being disrespectful. This is my invisibility wound. Didn't make any new rules, didn't tell anyone anything about what she'd been doing, and didn't say anything differently at all. And this carried on, and 3 weeks later she messaged me that her son had actually started not taking his phone to the dinner table anymore. I'm sorry if this is wobbling. I'll try not to wobble the table. It's on a wobbly thing. Sorry, and I just realised it's wobbling. I hope I haven't made anyone seasick. Where were we? Yeah, he started just changing his behaviour, not taking the phone to the dinner table, which proves that it wasn't about the phone and it was about her nervous system. And that was what shone a light on her button for her. And when she healed that, when she changed that, we might say it feels as if it's done by magic. When parents do this work, it does feel like magic, but it's healing something old in yourself, and you get a buy one, get one free, a bog off, you know, because it changes you, it frees you up, and it helps your teenagers. So let's get practical about this, because you're probably sitting there thinking, yeah, Inga, but what do I actually do next time she slams the door in my face? So remember the oxygen mask. You cannot regulate a teenager from your own dysregulated system, body. So you need to be the calm one. You need to resource yourself, not as an indulgence, but as leadership in that dance. You need to lead, especially during adolescence. Your teenager's emotional safety, is what I'm trying to say, depends on your capacity, not you being perfect. So this is where your imagination is brilliant, because you can reflect on this when you just have to imagine them saying the thing, and you will feel in your body what you feel like when they do it, and then you can work on it by being curious about what happens in you instead of about their behavior. Why are they being like that? Rah, 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 rah. Look at you. Why are you being like that? When you feel that, you sit there and you imagine it, and you feel that surge of heat rising or the complete breakdown. Pause and ask yourself, what is this really about? Yeah, it sounds like it's like they're being rude or they're being deliberately nasty and horrible to me. What's underneath it? What is actually going on for me? Is there something older, some old fear, some old shame, some disrespect, some guilt? And you don't have to solve all of it, but just start being curious and asking your subconscious mind. It's like, you know, when you can't remember the name of that actor in that film and you talk about it and you say it out loud, and 3 days later you get the answer, yes, or the name of that book or whatever. Similarly, you know, when you ask your subconscious a question like that, it will give you the answer. You've just got to switch on your ears to listen to it. And just remember that conflict with your teenager is really, really perfectly normal. It isn't evidence that you're a bad parent. It's evidence that you're in an emotionally live, real relationship with someone whose entire job right now is to push against you and find out who they are without you. And they're pushing your buttons to find where you are not holding. And it is intense. And your job is not to stop the dance, it is to learn how to lead it. So if today has landed for you, and if you're thinking, right, I need to actually find out what my buttons are, I have got a lovely new free resource for you that will help you with this issue. It's called When Your Teenager Pushes Every Button, and what it's actually asking you to do. So grab it, there's a link below, and it will really help you start spotting your own dashboard lights before they flare into a full-blown jumping out of your seat and shouting. And if there are any questions, then put them in the comments, and I can see if I can answer that now. But also just keep the questions coming for the next one. The next one in 2 weeks, I will be on holiday and I won't be doing one. But then we're back on schedule to doing them twice a week, these lives. And of course, as always, if you have a bigger fear that what's happening is for your teenager is a bit more than your buttons being pushed, or you just absolutely cannot work out what it is in you, you can book a way forward consultation with me and we can look at it together. And if you're watching this on replay, do that hashtag replay thing. And anything else I wanted to say, stay cool and enjoy your holidays. Prime opportunity to practice your buttons. You're doing well. See you next time. Bye.